All right, we are back here at React Europe, and we're doing some more interviews. And I'm here with Evan Bacon.
Right. What's up, Nader?
What's up, man? Yeah. So, what is your talk going to be about, and what are you kind of going to be, talking about here at React Europe?
Right. So I'm going to be talking about this new Expo web project that we've got going on. So basically what it lets you do is take an existing Expo app that was written for iOS and Android and then run it on the web as if it was like a progressive web app or just an app using a lot of modern standards.
Okay, yeah, Expo Web, that was something that was released, this year, the last few months?
Yeah, it's just
like
been a project that we've been working on for the last few months, kind of back and forth with Facebook, trying to make web like a first-tier platform, both iOS and Android.
So you're basically writing React Native components that compile, or you can actually deploy this to iOS, Android, and the web.
Right, all at the same time, run them at the same time, build them, and it's all like built on top of React Native for web, which is proven technology. Twitter Lite's written with it, and it's pretty incredible.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so it's kind of like the next iteration of like what React Native was when they first built it. They were talking about write or learn once and write anywhere, and this is like the new place that is anywhere.
Right. I think they may have pulled back on that. It was like learn it once, write it anywhere. I'm very lazy, so I like to go with the whole write it once and run it everywhere.
Okay, so that's awesome. We can make it work,
If we can make it work, yeah.
Cool. So, what is Expo up to these days? Is that kind of what you are focusing on right now?
So that's what I'm focusing on, and then James Ede works on it with that a little bit as well. But we also have this new custom build system that we're working on, which will enable you to remove modules that you don't want or add extra modules that aren't part of the Expo SDK. So then you can get a custom build sent to your phone using ad hoc. And then we also have the whole removing Expo kit. So when you eject, you just get a React Native library with a bunch of other libraries installed. And a lot of just cleaning up the SDK, making it more stable, and being able to run it however you want.
Okay, cool. I know that when I first started working with React Native, it was the very early days, and Expo was around even at that stage. So Expo's been around for a long time, right?
Right, a while. I think you've been using it more than I have.
Yeah, well, maybe longer.
Longer. Yeah. Probably not more, right?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, what are you excited about so far at the conference around some of the talks that you've heard?
Well, everything that I've seen about Amplify has been really exciting stuff. Just kind of the whole deployment field and everything they're doing with I don't know, just hosting seems really exciting, and the convenience, the ease of use, the way it synchronizes, the web dashboard, all that seems really exciting to me. I'm also really excited to see what Code Sandbox has in store.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think Richard's going to be speaking next on Amplify and AppSync, so I'm excited to see his talk too.
We'll wrap this up then.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up soon. Yeah, I think one of the most interesting talks that I've seen so far was Jared's keynote talking about the future of React. Mm-hmm. I'm all about the future of things, and seeing him actually implement some of that stuff was really cool. So
right.
That's pretty exciting and stuff. The thing is that when we see a lot of this stuff, like when we're talking about things that haven't landed yet, sometimes you learn about them and they don't actually happen, or they do happen, but it's just like a long time away. So
right.
That's something I always have to kind of keep in mind.
Yeah, I've got kind of big ego, so if I say it's going to happen, then I try to make sure it works out in some capacity.
Yeah, there's a talk about within AWS actually about around some of the stuff that we're working on around the roadmap. A lot of people want to see a roadmap, and I'm pro roadmap, but at the same time, sometimes it's a little limiting to have a roadmap because you end up promising on things that may in the future not be the best things because maybe there's something even better that you like to do, but you're limited because you don't want to renege on what you kind of had promised.
Yeah, when the idea is kind of more primitive and you haven't thought through it.
Yeah. And then when you get to working on it, maybe something better even springs up. So then you're reprioritizing. What we've done is we have this idea of an open RFC, and we're not the only ones that do this. We have an open RFC on our GitHub issues. Everyone can contribute to the conversation, but we still have an open place for us to talk about what we're planning on doing. So everything is more transparent, and it's less of a promise on something that's going to happen, but 90% of the time it happens, but not all the time. So it seems to be working okay for us.
Interesting. What's the community engagement like with something like that?
It's actually really good. Yeah, it's really, really good because a lot of times what we have in mind versus what the community have in mind aren't on the same page, or maybe they are, but there's things that we haven't thought about. People are using stuff in production, whereas we're just building the stuff for the people that are using it in production. So they'll have a use case that we haven't really thought about, so it actually vastly improves. It's almost like instead of just coming out like out of nowhere with this new feature that we haven't actually really, battle tested, it gives us an opportunity to not only get feedback, but also maybe push releases out early to people that want to try them out. And they can kind of like test things out and give us feedback at that point too. So
interesting. Does most of the dialogue happen on GitHub with that RFC, or is it
all happens on GitHub? Yeah. Okay. And I think we're one of the first groups within AWS to do that because it's an open source project. Like most stuff at AWS is like not open source.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So most of the stuff that that you think of AWS is like their backend services and stuff, whereas this is like a client framework and a CLI. They still interact with those services, but it is kind of open source, or it is open source. So.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. And so like it's pretty limited to GitHub. You don't like tweet at people and with ideas.
Yeah, I mean I do sometimes, but
right. I find a lot of people, if there's like a new Expo feature, like I promised Bluetooth, then I'll post a picture with my family like at dinner, and someone will reply, "How's Expo Bluetooth coming?" And
or why aren't you working on this feature that I told you about? Why are you out eating dinner having a good time?
That doesn't look like a keyboard.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some interesting stuff on our. I'm sure anyone open source has their own stories, but like the type of people that come on and like act really crazy and stuff, or really like kind of a pain to deal with. But it's just something that you have to just accept, I guess.
Right. Well, Brent Vatney, he's kind of got like this mother-daughter connection with me. So whenever someone attacks me online, I'm replying, and then immediately he'll reply with a very reasonable thing like, "I'm sorry about this. We will continue working on it." And then save me right before I say something hostile.
Gotcha.
Like, please don't hurt my feelings again.
So I want to talk about Expo as the company before we're going to be wrapping it up in just a second. So when Expo started, I know Charlie Chiva was one of the people he is the one that started along with James Ide, and then now like some of the people that are well known there, you and Brent Vatney, and then you have a couple of other people. What is like the focus of the company, you think, in the future? Like what is your end goal like with Expo, just to make cross-platform easier and mobile development easier?
Yeah, so the end goal, I think, it's pretty far ahead of where we're at currently. We wanted to make just it very easy to make a native app, really just the best way to make an application. And now that we're branching out into new platforms, you're kind of getting a better picture of that, where we just want it to be like, here's the app, the experience that I want, and then Expo helps you run it on whatever platform you want. And a lot of things around solving this native code kind of custom build thing will also help with that. But realistically, we want it to just be, I want a dating app for people who love Monster Energy drinks, and then you make that dating app on whatever platform you have accessible to you, whether that be the computer or an iPhone or an Android device or a Windows computer or a MacBook, and then be able to deploy that as best as possible, as native as possible on every single platform, so anyone can access it.
Okay, awesome.
And of course, all free.
Yeah, totally. That's Expo is amazing. I'm a huge fan. They're big contributors to everything in the React Native ecosystem. They build stuff. They contribute to React Native Core in the past. I know they still do. And they build stuff that they just open source and let everyone use for free. So it's pretty awesome. If anyone wants to find you on Twitter, what's your Twitter handle? And also, how can they learn more about Expo?
So I'm at BaconBricks, BRIX, because I made it when I was like 13. And then you can find out more about Expo just by searching expo.io, or on GitHub. There's GitHub/Expo, Expo on Twitter. And we also have a YouTube channel, which has a lot of explanation about.
Oh, yeah. Definitely recommend the YouTube channel.
So check out one of the first 2 or 3 videos before I came along and hijacked it. You can find really interesting videos by Charlie and Brent, which will explain Expo. And then if you kind of keep watching, you will see me explain things very poorly, like how to use a tab navigator, but mostly about how to follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, no, all those videos are great. I mean, your videos are fun, entertaining, but they're also like you learn a lot from them. So like they're useful in all different ways.
Yeah, sure.
All right, well that wraps up this interview. We're gonna head back to the conference and watch the next talk. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, dude.